Next is about the revenue. Remember that the revenue is determined by how much you sell for a product and how many products you sell. Okay, the price and the demand. That's very easy to understand, right? If you sell your bread at $5 each and you sell 100 bread per day, you're going to revenue income equals to what? To 100 times $5, which is $500 per day. That's your income, that's your revenue. Easy. So total revenue So if D is demand, right, number of units sold, if P is the price per unit, your total revenue is what? Is P times D, price times demand, right? How much times how many? And here is an example. So given the price for one piece of bread is $5 per bread. $5 per bread, that's the price. And you sell 100 pieces per day. 100 pieces per day, that's your demand. What is the total revenue per day? And what is the total revenue for a month? Okay, let's do the total revenue per day because you know your demand per day is 100. So total revenue per day is gonna be, you can write it as TR, right? It's gonna be what? From based on this function, it's P times D, right? So P is $5 per bread. D is 100 pieces. Of course, you don't have to write the units like what I do here, okay? You can just write it as 5 times 100, which is fine. So that's gonna be 5 times 100, which is what? Which is $500 per day. Okay? And what about the total revenue per month? Total revenue per month and the assumption is 1 month equals 30 days. So if you know like your revenue is $500 per day, for 30 days, how much is it? Just use the 500 per day times 30 days. So it's gonna be $15,000 per month. Okay, so this example is just to show you how do you use this function. Okay, so if we say this is number 1, number 2, and then this function might be called number 3. Okay, and here we want to step further to learn about the total revenue function. So we have already seen this. Total revenue is P times D, right? Price times demand. And what if we replace the P by P is A minus BD? Remember that? That's the line for the price and demand. And we say the general formula is P is A minus BD, right? So what if we replace the P by this formula? Then you can write the total revenue in another way, okay? Let's see. So total revenue is P times D, that's true. And if we replace P by A minus BD, okay, so we can have A minus BD, so that's P, right, times D. So nothing changed, we just replace the P by something in A minus BD, right? And if you open this bracket or parenthesis, what you have is A times D minus B times D squared. Okay, so which means if you already know from a given condition that what is A and what is B and what is D, you can calculate it. You can calculate your total revenue based on these values. Okay, so that's why we want to rewrite it in this form. For example, in this case, we know that A is 180 and B is 0.02. So if we also know a demand D, the number for that, we can easily calculate the total revenue. Okay, in case you are very interested in the revenue, that's the number you can have. That's the way you calculate it. All right, so if we have this, okay, go back to this slide. So this is the function between total revenue and the demand, okay, because A and B are just the constants. And so if you put this on the X and Y coordinate system, what kind of line could you have? Because this is a square of D, so it's not gonna be a straight line, it's gonna be a curve, right? So this is the line you can have. That's the line describing the relationship between demand and total revenue. Okay, so it tells you what? It tells you at the beginning, if your demand is really small, your total revenue is also very small. Okay, maybe your demand is 5 and your total revenue maybe it's just like 50. And once your demand goes up, okay, goes to this direction, okay, let's see, your demand is higher, more people buy your products, okay, maybe you hit the point demand at 35, and then because you sell more, you're going to have more total revenue. That's very easy to understand, right? You sell more, you got more income. And then your total revenue could be much higher than $50. If this is 50, then this height might be maybe 500. okay? And of course, if you sell more and more, you have more demand, you can hit the point where you have the total revenue maximized. Okay, so that's the point. You have your total revenue maximized. Okay, and that's some point we are very interested in. We want to know what is our extreme point. What is the maximum total revenue we can get? As a businessman, you always want to know that. Okay, so this is the function or formula. You can calculate your maximum revenue, total revenue. And these are just the process in between. You don't have to understand that. But here is what you're going to use. Okay, that's to tell you based on the value of A and B, this A and this B is in this relationship. Okay, so you always want to know for a specific type of products, what is the relationship between P and D, price and demand. And based on that, you can know the constants A and B, the values of them, and then you replace the value in this start function so that you can calculate the maximum total revenue. Make sense? And also we're interested in the demand, at what demand you can reach the maximum total revenue. And that demand, we have a name for it. We call it D hat. So this symbol above the D, like opposite V, it's called D hat. Okay, like a V upside down. So the D hat is the demand where you can get your maximum total revenue. And to calculate the D hat, you have this function A over 2B. Still, whenever you know what is A, what is B, you can calculate the D hat very easily. Okay, and somebody might be interested in why after the D hat in this area, why whenever we sell more, our total revenue becomes smaller, not even higher, right? Why the line is going down like this? Why don't we just sell more and more and more? Because the total revenue will decrease after the maximum total revenue point. But why? Why do we have this? Right? So one reason for that is, think about that. If you sell more, do you remember the relationship between the price and demand? You sell more means one possibility is you sell it cheaper, right? That's when you have more demand. You sell something cheaper, and once you sell it too cheap, your income will decrease because your cost doesn't change, but your price is cheaper and cheaper. Then your revenue will decrease, okay, because it's cheaper. So that's one possibility, that we have lower total revenue if we sell even more than the D hat.